Aliens wanted war for fun. Humans gave them more for real. Commander ZYX-7 of the Galactic Supremacy Fleet lounged in his command chair, tentacles draped carelessly over the armrests, staring at the small blue-green planet on the view screen. His large, purple eyes blinked horizontally as he sighed deeply through his breathing slits. "Remind me again why we're here," he asked, not bothering to hide the boredom in his voice. Lieutenant Krell, his second-in-command, consulted the data pad in his three-fingered hand. "Earth, sir. Primitive civilization. Just reached basic space travel. Perfect for our recreational activities." "Ah, yes. Another conquer the primitive species exercise." ZYX-7 rolled all three of his eyes simultaneously. "How thrilling! I'm practically oozing excitement from my pores." The bridge crew of the massive Klaaxian warship, Inevitable Dominance, tittered with laughter. These missions had become something of a joke among the Galactic Supremacy Fleet. Find some backwater civilization just discovering the stars, show up with overwhelming force, demand surrender, accept their pathetic resistance, and then graciously spare them by making them a protected territory of the Klaaxian Empire. It was essentially glorified tourism with explosions. "Well, let's get this over with." ZYX-7 stood up, his 8-foot frame towering over his crew. "Prepare the standard surrender or be annihilated broadcast. Make sure we use the deep, threatening voice filter. And someone activate the intimidation lights. No, not the red ones, use the pulsing purple. Much more ominous." As the crew scurried to follow his orders, ZYX-7 turned to his cultural specialist, Dr. Vrix. "Give me the briefing on these. What are they called?" "Humans, sir." "Humans. Ridiculous name. What's their deal?" Dr. Vrix adjusted her translator implant and began. "Bipedal mammals. Surprisingly resilient considering their fragile physical structure. They've been waging war against each other since they developed basic tools. Current global military capabilities include nuclear weapons, but their space forces are minimal, just a few orbital stations and lunar outposts." "Nuclear weapons?" ZYX-7 snorted, releasing a small cloud of purple vapor. "How quaint. Remember the Zorgans from Sector 9? They tried throwing a nuclear weapon at us. We caught it and sent it back with a gift basket." More laughter filled the bridge. "Sir," called out Communications Officer Pleeble, "we're receiving a transmission from their Global Leadership Council. They're requesting to speak with you." "Already? We haven't even done our intimidation broadcast." ZYX-7 sounded genuinely disappointed. Fine. Put them on screen. Everyone, look menacing." The view screen flickered, and the image of a human appeared. She was middle-aged with dark skin and short gray hair, wearing what appeared to be a formal uniform adorned with various insignia. "I am Admiral Maria Chen of the United Earth Defense Council," she said calmly. "On behalf of humanity, I welcome you to our solar system." ZYX-7 blinked in surprise. This wasn't how these encounters usually began. Where was the panic? The desperate pleas? He recovered quickly and assumed his most intimidating posture, inflating his throat sac for added effect. "Tremble, puny humans!" he boomed, the voice modulator adding a nice reverb. "I am Commander ZYX-7 of the mighty Klaaxian Empire. Your planet stands on the brink of annihilation. Surrender now or yes, we assumed as much." Admiral Chen interrupted, checking something off-screen. "Your species follows the standard Type 3 conquest protocol. We've been preparing for this encounter for decades." The bridge fell silent. ZYX-7's throat sac slowly deflated with an awkward wheezing sound. What?" he managed, switching off the voice modulator. "You're the 7th advanced species to enter our system with conquest intentions," Admiral Chen explained matter-of-factly. "We've cataloged 23 distinct patterns of first contact aggression. Yours fits the intimidate, and subjugate approach commonly used by civilizations approximately 2,000 years ahead of our technological level. ZYX7 turned to Dr. Vrix, who was frantically searching through her data pad. "Sir," she whispered urgently, "our intelligence may be outdated. Last comprehensive scan was performed 75 Earth years ago." 75 years? ZYX7 hissed. "Who authorized that timeline? That's practically yesterday in cosmic terms." On screen, Admiral Chen continued, "We've prepared a standard response package for your review. It includes our terms for your immediate withdrawal, protocols for establishing diplomatic relations should you reconsider your hostile approach, and," her expression hardened slightly, "a detailed description of the consequences should you proceed with your invasion plans." Lieutenant Krell snorted. "Consequences? From primitives with chemical rockets and projectile weapons?" Admiral Chen smiled thinly. "Perhaps you'd like a small demonstration?" Before ZYX7 could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. "Sir!" the tactical officer shrieked. "Unknown objects approaching from behind the planet's moon! Hundreds of them! They're moving at, that can't be right. What? Speak clearly, officer!" ZYX7 demanded. "They're moving at translight velocities within a gravity well. That's theoretically impossible." The view screen split to show a swarm of small, sleek craft emerging from behind Earth's moon, moving with impossible precision and speed. "As I was saying," Admiral Chen continued calmly, "humanity has had some interesting visitors over the decades. Not all of them were hostile like yourselves. Some were quite educational." ZYX7 felt the first twinges of something he hadn't experienced in centuries: genuine fear. "Sir," the sensor officer called out, voice trembling, "we're detecting energy signatures unlike anything in our database. They appear to be targeting systems." Admiral Chen's expression remained pleasant. "Commander ZYX7, you came here expecting to find a primitive species you could intimidate for your amusement. A quick war game to break up the monotony of space travel, perhaps? Unfortunately for you, Earth has been at the crossroads of galactic politics for quite some time. We've learned a great deal." ZYX7's mouth flaps opened and closed several times before he found his voice. This is unprecedented. We are the Klaaxian Empire. We have conquered over 300 worlds." "How nice for you," Admiral Chen replied. "We've repelled 6 invasion attempts in the last decade alone. Your empire isn't even the largest we've encountered this year." "Sir," Lieutenant Krell whispered urgently, "perhaps we should consider a strategic reassessment of the situation." "You mean retreat? From humans?" ZYX7 sputtered, his pride warring with his growing sense of danger. As if reading his thoughts, Admiral Chen added, "I should mention that we've taken the liberty of transmitting this conversation to your homeworld, along with our analysis of your ship's defensive capabilities. Your Imperial Senate is now requesting an emergency communication with you." The bridge erupted in chaos as officers rushed to verify this information. ZYX7 felt his primary heart sink, while his secondary heart raced in panic. "Impossible!" he declared. "Our communications are secured by quantum encryption." "We're secured," Chen corrected gently. "As I mentioned, we've had some very educational visitors." Just then, a junior officer approached with a data pad. "Sir, it's confirmed. The Senate is demanding immediate contact. They sound upset." ZYX7 slumped back into his command chair. This was supposed to be a simple mission: show up, scare the primitives, maybe blow up a few insignificant structures for show, accept their surrender, and be home in time for the Galactic Dominance Festival. Now he was facing not only an unexpectedly advanced opponent, but also the wrath of the Imperial Senate. "Would you like to know something interesting about humans, Commander?" Admiral Chen asked, her voice taking on an almost conversational tone. "We have a concept called poker. It's a game where success depends on making others believe you have a stronger position than you might actually possess. The implication hung in the air. Was this all a bluff? ZYX7 studied the human's face, trying to discern any sign of deception. But human expressions were notoriously difficult to read, with their flat faces and limited color-changing abilities. We could still destroy your major cities. He tried, knowing he sounded desperate. You could try, Chen agreed. But you wouldn't survive to see the results. And neither would your homeworld. A chill ran through ZYX7's spine ridges. You're bluffing. You couldn't possibly know the location of Klaaxia. Chen smiled that unsettling smile again. Theta Sector, third planet orbiting the binary star system you call Glovax. Beautiful rings. 16 moons. Currently celebrating the 400th cycle of Emperor Zog's reign. Lovely fireworks, by the way. The bridge fell completely silent. Even the ship's ambient hum seemed to quiet in shock. How? ZYX7 began. Like I said, Commander. Educational visitors. Admiral Chen leaned forward slightly. Now, shall we discuss the terms of your departure, or would you prefer a more practical demonstration of humanity's defensive capabilities? For the first time in his 300-year military career, Commander ZYX7 of the feared Klaaxian Empire found himself completely outmaneuvered. By humans, no less. The humiliation burned in his throat sacs. Lieutenant Krell, he said quietly, prepare the ship for immediate departure from this system. A wise decision. Admiral Chen nodded. We'll transmit safe coordinates for your jump point. Oh, and Commander? Do let your Imperial Senate know that Earth is not interested in conquest or conflict. We simply wish to be left alone. Should the Klaaxian Empire desire peaceful relations in the future, we would be amenable to discussions. As the transmission ended, ZYX7 stared at the view screen, at that innocuous-looking blue-green planet that had just delivered the most stunning defeat of his career. Well, he finally said to his shell-shocked crew, it seems we've found something rarer than a five-sun galaxy. Sir? Lieutenant Krell asked tentatively. ZYX7's mouth flaps curved into what passed for a Klaaxian smile. A species more dangerous than we are. As the inevitable dominants prepared to leave Earth's solar system, ZYX7 made a private decision. He would return someday, not with warships, but perhaps alone. These humans were far too interesting to simply file away in the Imperial records. Little did he know that his next encounter with humanity would come much sooner than expected, and under circumstances that would make this humiliation seem like a pleasant diplomatic exchange by comparison. The true war, it turned out, hadn't even begun. 3 lunar cycles had passed since the humiliating retreat from Earth. And Commander ZYX7 still hadn't heard the end of it. The Imperial Senate's debriefing had been more like a public flogging, broadcast across all 17 Klaaxian colony worlds. Emperor Zog himself had summoned ZYX7 to the palace, only to laugh in his face for a full 6 minutes, an exact measurement provided helpfully by Lieutenant Krell, who somehow still maintained his unwavering loyalty despite everything. Sir, incoming transmission from Central Command, Krell announced, interrupting ZYX7's brooding on the bridge of the inevitable dominance, now mockingly referred to as the inevitable embarrassment, throughout the fleet. Wonderful, ZYX7 muttered, straightening his posture. Let me guess, another mandatory how not to disgrace the Empire training seminar? The view screen flickered to life, revealing the stern visage of Fleet Admiral Graz, his facial tentacles arranged in the formal pattern of extreme displeasure. Commander ZYX7, he began without preamble. New intelligence has emerged regarding the humans. ZYX7 felt all 3 of his hearts sink simultaneously. Sir, if this is about their defensive capabilities, I assure you my report was comprehensive. Silence. Graz's skin flushed a dark orange with irritation. We've intercepted disturbing transmissions. The humans are sharing. Sharing? Sharing what, exactly? Everything. Graz spat, his voice modulator crackling with indignation. Their encounter with you. Our tactical weaknesses. Our encryption protocols. They're distributing this information to other species, including. He paused dramatically. The Vrexilians. This time, ZYX7 felt his tertiary heart stop completely for 2 seconds. The Vrexilians, the Klaaxian Empire's most bitter rivals for galactic dominance. If they got hold of Klaaxian military secrets. But why would the humans do this? ZYX7 asked, genuinely perplexed. We retreated peacefully. We honored their terms. Admiral Graz's facial tentacles writhed with barely contained fury. Apparently, they found your attempted invasion amusing and decided to share the entertainment with others. They're treating our military encounter as some kind of interstellar joke. The bridge crew shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact with their commander. There's more, Graz continued. They've established formal diplomatic relations with 6 major galactic powers in the past 3 lunar cycles. Species that took us centuries to negotiate with are signing treaties with Earth after single meetings. They're even hosting something called an Interstellar Cultural Exchange Festival next month. ZYX7 blinked all his eyes in succession, a Klaaxian expression of extreme confusion. A festival? Yes. With music and food and art. Graz practically hissed the last word, as if it were obscene. But that's merely their cover. Our intelligence suggests they're using this festival to form a coalition against us. Your failed invasion has made us appear weak. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. ZYX7 processed this information, his tactical mind whirring with implications. Then, something unexpected happened. He laughed. It began as a small gurgle in his primary air sac before erupting into a full-bodied, multi-tone Klaaxian guffaw that caused his entire exoskeleton to vibrate. Commander! Graz thundered, his face now cycling through various shades of outrage. Have you lost your neurofunctions? Wiping bioluminescent tears from his largest eye, ZYX7 finally composed himself. My apologies, Admiral. But don't you see the irony? We approached Earth looking for a bit of recreational warfare, and now they're treating our entire empire as recreation. This is no laughing matter. The Senate has reached a decision. You will return to the human solar system immediately. ZYX7's laughter died instantly. Return? To face those unexpectedly advanced mammals again? Graz's expression shifted to something even more disturbing, a Klaaxian smile. Yes. But this time, you won't be alone. You'll command our new planetary annihilation fleet. The words hung in the air like toxic gas. Planetary annihilation fleet. The Empire only deployed such forces in the most extreme circumstances. Admiral, ZYX7 said carefully, with all due respect, is this not an overreaction? The humans defeated one ship through tactical surprise and superior intelligence. They clearly have powerful allies, but the decision is final. Graz cut him off. You will lead the fleet to Earth, you will demand their unconditional surrender, and if they refuse, you will reduce their planet to cosmic dust. Perhaps then the galaxy will remember why the Klaaxian Empire is to be feared, not mocked. After the transmission ended, ZYX7 sat motionless in his command chair, thoughts racing through his triple-lobed brain. Lieutenant Krell approached cautiously. Sir? The coordinates for the rendezvous with the Annihilation Fleet have arrived. Thank you, Krell, ZYX7 said absently, still staring at the now blank view screen. Sir, if I may, you seem troubled. ZYX7 turned to his loyal second-in-command. Tell me, Krell, in all your years serving under me, have you ever known me to be troubled by the prospect of conquest? Never, sir. And yet here I am, feeling something suspiciously like doubt. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. These humans. They're different. Not just technologically. There's something unpredictable about them. Krell shifted uncomfortably. Sir, the Annihilation Fleet consists of 50 warships, each more powerful than the inevitable dominance. Surely not even the humans can stand against such force. Perhaps, ZYX7 mused. Or perhaps we're making a catastrophic mistake. Set course for the rendezvous point, Lieutenant. And pray to the Seven Suns that the Imperial Senate hasn't just signed our extinction warrant. 2 standard weeks later, Commander ZYX7 stood on the bridge of the Imperial Wrath, the flagship of the Annihilation Fleet. Around him, 50 of the most powerful warships in the Klaaxian Empire moved in perfect formation toward the Sol system. Sir, we're approaching Earth's outer defense perimeter, the navigation officer reported. Any sign they've detected us? ZYX7 asked. Negative, Commander. Our new stealth systems appear to be functioning optimally. ZYX7 nodded, though unease continued to gnaw at his gut sacks. The fleet had been outfitted with experimental technology specifically designed to counter what intelligence had gleaned about Earth's detection capabilities. Still, after their last encounter, he wasn't taking anything for granted. All ships maintain radio silence. Approach pattern Delta 9. He turned to Dr. Vriex, who had somehow managed to retain her position despite the Earth debacle. Doctor, any updates on human activities? The cultural specialist consulted her data pad. Their Interstellar festival is in full swing, sir. 17 known galactic species are in attendance. Orbital scans show significant gatherings in multiple locations across the planet. Perfect, ZYX7 said, though the word tasted bitter in his mouth flaps. They're distracted. We'll launch the ultimatum once we achieve optimal orbital position. Hours passed as the massive fleet silently closed in on the unsuspecting blue-green world. Despite himself, ZYX7 found his thoughts drifting to Admiral Chen. Would she be surprised? Afraid? Would she still maintain that irritating calm when faced with the full might of the Klaaxian Empire? Commander, the tactical officer called out suddenly. I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from Earth's moon. ZYX7's spine ridges stiffened. Explain. It appears they've constructed something on the dark side of the moon. Something massive. Show me. The view screen shifted to display a magnified image of the lunar surface. Where there should have been only craters and dust, there now stood a colossal structure, a perfect sphere, gleaming with an iridescent sheen that seemed to shift colors as they watched. What in the Emperor's name is that? Lieutenant Krell whispered. As if in answer to his question, the sphere began to pulse with light. Concentric rings of energy rippled across its surface. Sir! The sensor officer cried out, genuine panic in her voice. Energy surge detected! It's... She never finished her sentence. A blinding flash engulfed the view screen, and suddenly, the Imperial Wrath shuddered violently. Warning alarms blared throughout the bridge. Status report! ZYX7 demanded, clinging to his command chair as the ship bucked beneath him. Sir, all ship systems are failing. Propulsion, weapons, life support, everything's shutting down. The fleet? Same condition, sir. All 50 ships, completely disabled. ZYX7 stared in disbelief as the view screen flickered back to life, showing his mighty Annihilation fleet drifting helplessly in space, their lights dimming one by one. That's impossible, he muttered. No weapon could disable an entire fleet simultaneously without destroying it. Sir, Communications Officer Pleble called out, her voice trembling. We're receiving a transmission. It's from Earth. Put it on screen, ZYX7 said, already knowing who he would see. Sure enough, Admiral Chen's face appeared, though this time she wasn't alone. Behind her stood a diverse group of beings, representatives from at least a dozen different galactic species, including, to ZYX7's horror, a Vrexilian. Commander ZYX7, Chen greeted him, as calmly as if they were meeting for afternoon refreshments. How kind of you to return. And with friends, no less. What have you done to my ships? ZYX7 demanded, abandoning all pretense of diplomatic protocol. Oh, that? Chen glanced off-screen as if the complete neutralization of the most powerful fleet in the known galaxy was a minor curiosity. Just a little demonstration of our harmonic disruption field. Completely non-lethal, I assure you. Your ship's systems will reboot in approximately 6 hours. We thought that would give us adequate time to chat. ZYX7 felt a cold dread settle into his core. 6 hours? You could destroy us all in 6 hours. We could, Chen agreed pleasantly. But that would be rather contrary to the spirit of our festival, wouldn't it? For the first time, ZYX7 noticed that Chen was wearing what appeared to be ceremonial attire, colorful fabrics with intricate patterns. Festival? He echoed weakly. Yes, our Interstellar Cultural Exchange Festival. The one your intelligence has been so concerned about. Chen gestured to the beings behind her. Allow me to introduce a few of our guests. Many of them were quite interested to meet a Klaaxian, actually. Your species has such a fascinating reputation. The Vrexilian stepped forward, its crystalline exoskeleton catching the light. Commander ZYX7, I am Ambassador KRYX Tal of the Vrexilian Confluence. Your timing is most fortuitous. We were just discussing the concept of irony with our human hosts. ZYX7's mouth flaps opened and closed several times before he found words. You're all allies now? Against the Klaaxian Empire? Admiral Chen laughed, a sound ZYX7 was growing to dread. Oh, Commander. Not everything is about war and conquest. We're not allies against anyone. We're simply friends, enjoying each other's cultures. Friends? The concept seemed so alien that ZYX7 almost couldn't process it. You expect me to believe that 17 galactic species, many of whom have been enemies for millennia, are gathered on Earth for friendship? And food, added a gelatinous being near the back of the group. Human cuisine is surprisingly compatible with our digestive processes. And music, chimed in another alien, this one appearing to be composed primarily of sentient gas. Their jazz creates vibrations most pleasing to our sensory nodes. ZYX7 looked from one alien face to another, searching for any sign of coercion or deception. He found none. Only genuine enthusiasm. This is a trick, he declared, though with less conviction than he'd intended. Some sort of mind control. Ambassador KRYX Dal's crystalline features arranged themselves into what might have been amusement. Commander, the humans have achieved what neither your empire nor my confluence ever could. They've brought us together without a single shot being fired. Is it so difficult to believe that perhaps conquest isn't the only path to interstellar relations? Before ZYX7 could respond, Admiral Chen spoke again, her tone shifting to something more serious. Commander, I'm transmitting coordinates to your secondary systems. Systems our disruption field deliberately left operational. Those coordinates will lead you to a small island on our planet. You are invited, you personally, not your fleet, to join us for the closing ceremony of our festival tomorrow. You're inviting me? After I came to destroy your world? Consider it a diplomatic opportunity, Chen said. A chance to see another approach to galactic politics. Who knows? You might even enjoy yourself. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the Imperial Wrath in stunned silence. Sir, Lieutenant Krell finally ventured. What are your orders? ZYX7 stared at the view screen, at the peaceful blue-green planet that had now twice brought the mighty Klaaxian Empire to its knees without firing a single destructive shot. Prepare my personal shuttle, he said quietly. Sir? You're not actually going down there? It could be a trap. ZYX7 turned to his loyal second-in-command, a strange new feeling stirring in his triple-lobed brain. If they wanted us dead, Krell, we'd be space debris already. No, I don't think it's a trap. I think it's an education. 26 hours later, Commander ZYX-7 of the Klaaxian Empire stood on a white sand beach, watching the Earth's sun set over a vast ocean. Around him, beings from across the galaxy mingled, conversed, and, most shockingly, laughed together. Music unlike anything he'd ever heard filled the air, along with the aromas of countless cuisines. Quite a view, isn't it? Admiral Chen appeared beside him, offering a beverage in a coconut shell. ZYX-7 accepted it cautiously. I've seen 73 worlds across 12 galaxies, Admiral. I've witnessed the triple sunset of Megaros Prime and the crystal storms of Zetulian. But this... He gestured toward the horizon, where the sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. This is adequate. Chen laughed. High praise from a Klaaxian. Are you enjoying the festival? To his surprise, ZYX-7 realized he was. In the past day, he'd engaged in more genuinely interesting conversations than in his entire 300-year career. He'd learned about art forms he never imagined, tasted foods that made his sensory tentacles quiver with delight, and, most disturbing of all, found himself actually liking beings he'd previously considered inferior or enemy. It's educational, he admitted. Commander, Chen said, her voice turning serious. When your fleet returns to Klaaxia, what will you tell your Emperor? ZYX-7 considered the question carefully. The truth, I suppose. That Earth possesses defenses beyond our current capabilities. That you have formed relationships with numerous powerful species. That attempting to conquer your world would be inadvisable. And is that all? He looked around at the festival, at the impossible gathering of species that by all Klaaxian logic should be at war with each other. No, he said slowly. I will also tell him that perhaps there are approaches to galactic politics that we haven't fully explored. Chen smiled. Evolution isn't just biological, Commander. Civilizations evolve too. The Klaaxian Empire has thrived through conquest for millennia, but maybe it's time for a new adaptation. You're suggesting we abandon our ways? Our tradition of galactic dominance? I'm suggesting you expand your definition of dominance. Chen gestured to the festival around them. Look at what Earth has accomplished in less than a century of interstellar contact. No fleets, no planetary annihilation weapons, just curiosity, adaptability, and a willingness to see value in difference rather than threat. ZYX-7 was silent for a long moment, his triple-lobe brain processing concepts that had never been part of his military training. You knew, didn't you? He finally said. When I returned with the fleet. You were prepared. Chen's expression remained neutral. Let's just say we've learned to expect certain reactions when we upend someone's worldview. The Vrexilians sent 3 invasion fleets before they accepted our invitation to dinner. And now they're your allies. Friends, Chen corrected gently. There's a difference. As the last rays of sunlight disappeared below the horizon, ZYX-7 made a decision that would alter the course of Klaaxian history forever. Admiral Chen, he said formally, I believe the Klaaxian Empire would be interested in receiving an invitation to your next festival. Perhaps we could contribute some cultural elements of our own. Chen extended her hand, a human gesture of agreement that ZYX-7 had learned about during the festival. I think that could be arranged, Commander. Or should I say, Ambassador ZYX-7? He stared at her hand for a moment before carefully extending one of his tentacles to wrap around it. Ambassador, he repeated, tasting the unfamiliar word. It has a certain, inadequate ring to it. I suppose I could adapt. Above them, the stars began to appear, the same stars that had witnessed countless wars and conquests throughout galactic history. But tonight, on this small blue-green planet that had refused to be conquered, they shone down on something far rarer and more valuable. The beginning of understanding. As for the war that the Klaaxians had sought for fun, it turned out the humans had indeed given them war for real, a war against their own preconceptions, against the limitations of conquest as the only path to greatness. And in losing that war, ZYX7 realized the Klaaxian Empire might just win something far more significant, a future, and that, he had to admit, was vastly more entertaining than any recreational invasion could ever be.